Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Leadership Forum. Are you moving towards being a digital leader? So according to research and what experts say, the digital leader needs to recognize that digital transformation is not just about technology, but also about strategy, structure, culture, capabilities, and understanding the customer or the citizen. So this is a panel discussion on leadership, on digital leadership, and also understanding what are the new leadership practices for the digital age. I am Christine Santayana. I am the country director for the Philippine office of Integral, and also the sales director for the APAC region. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues from Integral and Trainocate across the region in various countries, and also our three esteemed panelists who have graciously accepted our invitation to take part in this Learning Forum series and also share with us their thoughts and their best practices in their respective industries and, of course, areas of expertise. So thank you to the three of them, and I will be introducing them shortly. And of course, I'd like to acknowledge all the participants that are joining us today. They're still coming in, but we decided to commit and start on time. Also to make sure that we start off and maximize the 1 hour that we have together. So I'd like to acknowledge all the participants here today. And these are composed of executives and leaders in multinational companies and government agencies in the Philippines, Japan, India, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. And I hope I did not leave any country out. So we actually expect more than 100 or probably over 200 people to join our forum today, which is why it's very important before we start off, that I just give you a little bit reminders about how we can make the most out of this session. So of course, it's important to stay focused. And of course, you can ask questions later during the question and answer portion, but please feel free to use the chat box and turn off your gadgets if you can, so that it won't take away from your bandwidth and appreciation of this particular forum. And your microphones will automatically be on mute. So when the question and answer portion comes in, please raise your hand. We will call your name and you may unmute yourselves. And of course, please do participate fully. And if you can, please turn your camera on. Thank you very much. I'd also like to ask your permission and let you know that we are recording the session today. So I would now go very quickly to the agenda. First of all, we'll have a welcoming remarks from our top management of Trainocate and Integral. And then I will quickly introduce our panelists. Each of our panelists, after which will have a spotlight, which means that they will have 10 minutes to freely share their thoughts and their insights on very important points when it comes to digital leadership. And this will happen consecutively, one after the other. So my request to you is that you reserve your questions at the question and answer portion. So make sure you write them down or you type them in your phone so you don't forget what those questions are. Because for the question and answer portion, that's where the real dialogue begins in understanding how we can approach digital leadership today. Okay? So at this point, I'd like to introduce you to Yuzo Otani, and he is a member of our top management. He's the director of Trainocate Holdings Limited and also a director for Integral Limited. Take it away, Yuzo.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for joining. This is Yuzo Otani. I'm a director of Integral and Trainocate, and this event is co-hosted by Integral and Trainocate. I'm based in Tokyo, so joining from my home today. Many registrations we received, and people keep joining, and it is more than we expected, to be honest. And I believe it's a proof of strong interest in the subject, digital leadership, and also high expectation to what the invited speakers can share with us today. And please allow me to also quickly introduce who we are. Christine can forward the slide. Okay. So Integral is a company which provides leadership and management trainings and programs representing American Management Association in APJ. To be specific, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Japan. In some other countries in Asia, such as India, we provide our services through our partnership with Trainocate. Trainocate is our parent company focused on IT technical trainings, including project management and IT service management, and partnering with IT giants such as Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Cisco Systems, NetApp, and so on. Trainocate covers 13 countries in Asia, APJ, and United States. So as a group, we could accommodate a broad range of your learning and development needs of your organization and hoping to work with you in the near future. I believe that you could bring back something valuable from the speakers who play important roles in the forefront of digital, AI, HR, L&D fields now. Thank you again for attending. I think let's start the event. Now back to Christine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yuzo. All right, so here we go. We're ready to start. I would like to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed panelists for our forum today. We have subject matter experts from the region who will be sharing with us today their thoughts and their current practices when it comes to digital leadership, of course, in their respective industries and areas of expertise. As you can see, we have one gentleman and two ladies. I would like to actually greet Carmistha and Anshul. Happy International Women's Week today. And of course, since we have Mario, the only gentleman in the panel, I hope they don't mind that Mario goes first. Is that okay? All right, so this is what's gonna happen, just a few reminders. It will be a panel spotlight wherein all three panelists will be presenting for 10 minutes each, and it will happen consecutively. And you will start off with Mario, and he will have 10 minutes. And of course, I will be giving you Mario, and of course, the other two ladies, a gentle reminder, if 2 minutes are left in your presentation, so you can start wrapping them up. We're hoping that you could cover as much as you can when you start your presentation, but of course, we can actually make up for it during the question and answer portion. All right, so here we go. So for our first speaker today, we have our panelists. We have Mario Domingo. He's from the Philippines, and he's, I think, spotlighted now. So you will see him on the top left of your screen. You can wave now, Mario, because I'm going to talk about you first. Your 10 minutes hasn't started yet, so don't worry about that. So, all right, Mario Domingo is from the Philippines, and he's a Group Chief Technology Officer of TriX Asia Pacific, who has a presence in Hong Kong, Manila, Sydney, and Tokyo. He's at the forefront of artificial intelligence and digital transformation consulting work in the Philippines and in the region. He has worked previously on several projects with the Pentagon or the U.S. State Department of Defense. He was the former head of IT transformation strategy and the head of production, design, and creation for Globe Telecom Inc. He's actually a patent holder of Gcash, and for our colleagues who are not from the Philippines, that's a very famous mobile wallet app. And of course, his educational background, he finished a diploma course in AI from MIT Computer Science AI Labs, master's degree in Applied Economics, University of Southern California, master's degrees finance from Rob Marshall School of Business, of course in USC as well, bachelor's in finance where he finished as cum laude, and major in business administration, USC as well. So Mario, you can thank me later. I did not mention the years. So of course, I'd also like to use this opportunity to tell you also that he has a book right now where innovation begins, and that's the link that you can see on the slide. I think I'm good. So Mario, ladies and gentlemen, Mario Domingo, and have fun with your spotlight presentation.
Thank you, Christine. Sandra, if you could go to my slides. So my idea is to try to go through my slides relatively quickly. And then from there, you could probably take some notes. You can ask me more. I have a lot of content related to digital leadership and digital transformation. Of all the things that Christine mentioned, I think I'd like to put your focus on basically three key points, right? So I led several digital transformation initiatives at Globe. I was there in a lot of our programs together across the team, the Globe team. Were the ones that started and eventually regained market share leadership in the Philippines mobile telecommunications market. The second is a a transformation for a wildly successful digital transformation of an energy company, also in the Philippines, with basically power plants across the nation. And now today I am group CTO for a alternative trading, or you can call it stock exchanges in Akasaka in Japan, as well as in Sydney, where we are a full listing exchange. And so when I speak of digital leadership, I don't speak only from the concepts and the theories that I teach. I also speak from experience. So sometimes they may not line up exactly to the book, but all I can go back to is experience, right? So let's go to the next slide, please. I just have something like 5 slides or 6 slides. So really it's that. There are many factors that makes for successful digital transformation, but that I'd like to focus a little bit less on that. You can ask me questions if you wish. I want to focus on one of those success factors, and that is ensuring that you commit the right digital leadership, and that starts from the CEO all the way to the middle management. A study that conducted by one of my partners when I did one of the transformation Boston Consulting Group advocates heavily that if digital transformation, especially in the early stages, is over-delegated down or delegated worse, if it's delegated to IT, their studies indicate that it has a high risk of failure. A lot of companies fail. And so digital leadership is important. So it's important to point out, however, that I believe this is also a construct from Sloan School of Management in Harvard, that actually the digital competencies that are required to help usher digital transformation for your enterprise is pretty common to the same competencies that you look for in any leader that joins your organization or is part. So these are the ability to influence others through motivation and inspiration, right? And various other capabilities. It's about transparency in order to build good integrity between them. It's about taking risks, which can be very difficult in today's day of sophistication. There needs to be strong values and ethics that back this leader. They have to be decisive. They can't just procrastinate on decision. But at the same time, they have a realistic optimism, the ability to look at that future vision and understands what minimum viable product can be built in order to move towards that vision. And so what differentiates a digital leader from your classic definition of a leader, right? So the third one is more arguable to be one of the competencies nonetheless, but the two are easy but to understand, but quite tough to find, right? Many of our senior leaders in the organization come from a time when the world was not digital, right? And so one of the most fundamental requirements that a digital leader who's going to usher the organization towards digitization is about technical literacy. They have to understand what they're talking about, right? There's so many buzzwords that's being thrown all over the world, right? AI, big data, machine learning, and robotic process automation, and all these buzzwords are being used. But you need to have a strong acumen and understanding of what technical backing those ideas have. Second is digital competency. They must be able to not only know and be literate in the technical stuff, but they're actually able to bridge how it applies to their enterprise, how it applies the suitability of the application of these technical capabilities, and how they will apply to your business. Finally, these digital leaders know that innovation and not just simple creativity is its ability to execute, because there's always the pull and push around maintaining your production environment and ensuring that you have a solid, strong, reliable, dependable production environment, but at the same time provides for a venue, a platform, a environment by which you can take risks and make mistakes, right? digital leaders spearhead digital transformation if they don't have these capabilities, aside from the classic competencies of a leader, these three pillars that they need to have, they will struggle in leading transformation. Worse, they might delegate it, right? And the moment it's delegated, it then creates misalignment between who they delegated to, and creates a back channel, creates a back door towards the leadership on maybe taking too much risk, or that we're unable to do it and such. Next slide, please. So digital transformation is basically the process by which you increasingly put digital capabilities into your business. When I use an example like Airbnb, right? They don't own a single hotel room, and yet they have thousands upon thousands of rooms in their inventory. It fundamentally, they were born digital. But when you are a hotel, you're a Shangri-La, or you're a Hilton, you have legacy. And so many of you guys who are attending this course, many of you are not coming out digital, because you won't be in this transformation situation if you were born digital, right? So this is the funny thing is, the time of the pandemic has turbo boosted and hastened the adoption of a great part of digital transformation, and that digital capability is mobility. So when we go work from home, suddenly within a snap, in a matter of weeks, we have transformed our way of work into mobility, which is one of the pillars of digital transformation. Just a couple more slides and I'm done. Actually, just one more slide, right? So where do you start, right? So you start with technical literacy. There's no shortcut, right? You can't fake this. You can't BS yourself through technical literacy, because the future, can you imagine an Elon Musk trying to BS his way through solar technology? Can you imagine a Steve Jobs trying to BS himself around mobile phones or the use of PCs, right? Fundamentally, the leaders of tomorrow that will survive digital transformation through this revolution are those people who are able to adapt into that digital capability. And the competency doesn't happen without the technical literacy building, right? And so digital competencies is about the application of those knowledge and creating a culture of innovation. For a long time, many of you are probably still in an organization where in a maintaining mode. The reason why is there's nothing broke, so don't fix it, until something like cryptocurrency comes around and displaces us all, right? So these are the three main capabilities you need to start with. Consult your Contigro representatives. I think they would have a good idea on how to get you there. Thank you. That's my 10 minutes, I believe. I may have gone over. Please feel free to ask questions.
You just made it just in time, Mario. Thank you very much. I appreciated your presentation. I think this particular last slide that you showed, where do you start, is the most important question that people are asking today. Thanks, Mario. So we'll move on to our second panelist. And from the Philippines, we are going to India. And I would like to introduce to you Carmistha Mitra. And just give me a few minutes to do so, Carmistha, before you go on to your spotlight. Carmistha has at least 25 years of experience in FMCG, IT consulting, manufacturing, financial services industries. She currently works as Senior Vice President for HR and is the Chief Learning Officer of Axis Bank and also the head of OT. And recently, she has been accorded and awarded as the Chief Learning Officer of the Year by Business World and People. So congratulations on that one, Carmistha. And in terms of career brief, she had experience with Tata Unisys, Hindustan Unilever, HR process and transformation and change management work at Coca-Cola. She also worked with Samsung SWA regional headquarters and also is the VP HR Board of Director of Mahindra 2 Leader. leaders. In terms of areas of business expertise, Carmistha actually has covered the areas of business management, operations and people management, customer service, sales management, and business process transformation. In terms of areas of expertise, she has handled strategic HR, culture transformation, learning and leadership development, organization structure and design, performance and talent management coaching, internal communication, diversity and inclusion. In terms of education, she has a master's degree in mathematics from the University of Calcutta and management education program from IIMB, and also Mahindra Universe program from Harvard and MIT. She's also, this is very interesting to me, an NLP practitioner from Stanford, USA, MBTI, Executive Coaching, Situational Leadership, Six Sigma Green Belt certified, and of course, Global Cross-Cultural Competence. Of course, among her many special interests, she's also a member of Women Leadership Forums. Carmistha, welcome, and it's your turn. Nice to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kristen. And it was, of course, a beautiful presentation that I was listening to from fellow panel. A presentation, as we discussed, about 5 very key developing economy like India. And, of course, technologically, we have been an advanced country always, even when we were economically not so advanced. And also my experience, of course, working with, European, American, as well as Korean companies. It is very interesting that we all come together on this platform and talk about a very important topic like this. Sharing my point of view and areas. So the first one is in digital. It factors on point 1 of digital mindset, digital capability, and organization's ability to also synergize. I was doing this work on future of work, and when future of work was not really so much of top of the town back in 2016. And one of the very interesting discovery that we had through rims and rims of research we went through was the future organizations are really going to be barbell shape of a barbell. So a barbell is not a bell which is a uniform bell. It is.
Okay. I think at this point, it would be useful. I think she actually dropped out of the meeting, and we'll give her a chance to come back, if I'm not mistaken. So I would actually like to go ahead and move on to Anshul Verma. And allow me to introduce you first, Anshul. Is that okay? Yeah, so now you're spotlighted, so you're at the top left part of the screen. We'll give an opportunity for Carmistha to come back. So welcome. Please allow me to introduce Anshul Verma. She's the head learning and OT of Asia Pacific of Lenovo. And she's a pioneer, a talent leader, a coach, a game changer, and a strategist with close to 20 years of experience from Strathclyde Graduate Business School in the UK. And currently, she holds the position that I just mentioned, Asia Pacific Learning and OT Leader for Lenovo. The wide experience that she has cuts across corporate management across banking, IT sector, and human relief and welfare in the area of marketing and management in the UK and the India business world. Anshul embarked on her professional path as business analyst at Standard Chartered Bank in London. And having worked in the international arena, she emerged to work in India with Reebok, Citigroup, across FMCG, banking, IT, and human relief and welfare in the areas of marketing and project management. Her natural collaborative management style with a strong results-based strategic focus with a diverse industry experience allows her to make significant contributions to revenue, performance, and profit improvement, building new opportunities to improve financial results, lead and define projects in her different roles in the past. Before I turn you over to her, she will present in the areas of digital leadership and the culture of innovation, and of course, understanding the capabilities of the organization. All right, Anshul, welcome. I think you're still on mute.
So thank you so much for that introduction, and also so happy that Mario's already set a context to this panel discussion or this whole platform, where we are all practitioners and here to talk about the most, I would say, the most popular and also the most real journey that all organizations are today taking towards digitization. I think, first of all, I'd like to just define digital. What does it mean? Because it can mean so many different things for different organizations. I think coming from an HR consulting background, I do realize that even through different industries and sectors, digital can really be different journeys, and they can be at different stages of digitizations that they take pretty much post-COVID, and we are all in a journey. So for me personally, being digital would mean being able to leverage your people, processes, and technologies to achieve a customer-led and data-driven business outcomes. I think very simple. And each one of us, wherever we're placed, whether it's in different functions or, we come from the L&D function, we're all trying to do that. That how do you fit in this whole piece of digital transformation? I would never want to. I mean, a few years back, I was on a certain, a forum like this, and we called it digital disruption. And I just thought that disruption is very negative. Why do we want to call it disruption? I thought it was progressive. I think we're moving. And thanks to COVID-19, it has really fastened the pace. I mean, today, the speed that we have, we all say we've accelerated our speed a few years, if not a decade, but at least we are 5 years ahead of what we were thinking as strategy for digital. So coming to my two focus areas, which is what do we really mean by digital leader, digital organization? So for me to succeed in this digital era, organizations will need a changed workforce. Well, COVID has done that to us. We are today, even in our organization, talking about that, first of all, before we talk about digital leadership, what about the organization, right? What about how are we enabling digital leadership through a changed workforce? So I would really say, what do I mean by changed workforce, new ways of operating, and a shift in leadership? Now, of course, the latter is the most important for this discussion. But I would like to talk about the other two very briefly, which says we're moving towards a fluid workforce. We were earlier just designing in our mind, conceptualizing a fluid workforce for IT companies, but today it's a reality. We are looking at workforce, workspace, and work generally in different dimensions. When I mean a fluid workforce, we're really looking at, do we have an appropriate talent mix? Shift from process-oriented to more outcome orientation. Right people in the right jobs has always been the mantra to success. But nevertheless, strong facilitation and non-traditional career paths is the way ahead. And real-time contribution and learning development and also feedback and diversity in every organization is one of the clear prerogatives or priorities of every organization. The second is I talked about the networked ways of operating, alignment of people and processes, broader business digital goals, digital strategy. Now, the thing is, when we're looking at digital strategy, we also need to understand what are the capabilities of the organization. We're looking at networked ways of operating, which means nimble and lean organizational structure is today the way we operate. Designated space for innovation. Innovation is another key area which all organizations today are building into their competencies or critical competencies that they need for their workforce. Highly inclusive culture is another one priority, and active facilitations of information flow. How does information flow in an organization cross-functionally to be able to, using your business intelligence, different systems, different kind of technologies to ensure that we're making sound decisions. Also empowerment of decision making. today it's not really a time when we're looking at leaders who cannot be entrepreneurs or start looking at themselves as entrepreneurs. Today, the need is really that there should be high learning agility and a lifelong learner profile, greater business acumen, and more entrepreneurial drive. A leader who's able to drive himself through the unexpected and the uncertain, or the famous VUCA environment. I mean, today, really, we are in a VUCA environment, which means we need leaders to be able to navigate, because there is no digital past heritage that any one of us carries. So it becomes all the more interesting to see, the robust communication with diverse external groups, how leaders are able to establish their agility and the whole, this whole cohesive top team, how can they build? So I was looking at a research, and this was by Conferry, and I was most intrigued that 5 critical dimensions of digital sustainability is very, very sharply defined as agility, connectivity, discipline and focus, empowerment and alignment, and openness and transparency. And some of these, how they were defined was just taking the 3 most important in this. And I see that even in some of the organizations, the last 2 at least, my current and the last one I worked for, openness and transparency, deliberate transparency about ethics and responsibilities. Are the organizations really working towards establishing compliance practices, taking them seriously, and employees are valued and creativity is encouraged? The next one is empowerment and alignment. A definitive mission. Do you really know what your organization's value proposition is? Or are you just building a different digital strategy? Do you really know who the customer is? Is it really aligned to the strategy of the customer-led? Is it a customer-led strategy? Or is the leaders just thinking very independent of only what he wants to do or the sales? So I would say aligned workforce, what is equipped to make decisions. And the third one is unequivocal clarity on what digital means to the organization. Not what the world is doing, but in my organization, what's a unequivocal clarity? Am I able to be that missionary of digital transformation in my organization who clearly understands what my organization's journey should be, and not trying to copy someone else or emulate without thought and enough deliberation? So if we have to look at continual transformation in our organizations, I saw this research and I was most intrigued that the highest performing digital leaders, and this completely aligns with some of the things Mario shared, are people who can manage ambiguity, who have adaptability, who can cultivate innovation, who have emotional intelligence, change agility, and engagement and persuasion. So I would say around the critical 5 dimensions that I shared, some of these completely align, of the traits and competencies that are required for high-performing digital leaders today. Well, do we have them ready-made? The answer is no. Do we need to build them all from scratch? Not really. We can look at some parts called traits, competencies, and drivers of our existing workforce. Do we have to completely change and, completely change our workforce? The answer is no. Obviously, we can't displace people. The idea is we start from where it is and look for some of these traits which you will see, which are curiosity. Do you really see curiosity? Do you see risk-taking? And again, this completely weaves in with what Mario was sharing in his slides very briefly, adaptability and tolerance of ambiguity. So if you see these traits in your existing workforce, I think that's where, when we look at technical literacy, that's something which we add as a layer to them. And some of the competencies that I have seen is innovation is the most, I would say, difficult to sometimes develop in people and not easy to find. But we can create a culture. We can create stuff around in our organizations to encourage them to be innovators. Strategic thinking is another one which is a very critical competency. And we see that that's hard to develop sometimes. So these are some of the ones, besides the others, which come out of the traits, which is result orientation and engage and inspire and all of that, that we can actually focus more on how we can use different learning landscapes to build the learning culture. Now, there are so many learning landscapes. I mean, I'm sure we have no dearth. We are spoiled for choices today in terms of learning landscape. I mean, when I was obviously a young executive and would like to give away my age, I don't think I had so many options. And today, when we look at it, every organization starts their journey from embedded learning journey, LMS, and then moves to some more sophisticated stuff. And today the world is talking about micro learning, shift from macro to micro learning. And how do I digitize my leaders? How do I develop them really at a faster pace by using micro learning? In simple words, not using too much jargon, macro is, I want to learn something good today. And micro is, I need this. Where can I find it? Or I need to learn this now. Can it come on my mobile so that I can quickly flip it? So I think this whole shift of how do you develop digital leadership is that it starts very early. Am I really having those learning experience platforms in the organization besides the program delivery, which are our traditional ways? And we don't really need to give them away. Also, the micro-learning platforms, there's so many available. And content libraries is another traditional way, which I think I've seen its efficacy in the last two organizations that I've worked for, LMSs and Skillsoft and all of this. But the answer today is, how do I blend these? I'm spoiled for choices. How do I blend the learning landscape, the new learning landscape options, to obviously really drive the customer-led strategy and drive business revenue basis where my organization is? So I would really say understanding the capabilities of the organization and the curve where we are as an organization is really critical to using, whether you want to use assessment, VR, or development tools, you want to use content libraries, you want to do micro-learning platforms, whatever it is. But is it really relevant in the context of where my organization is and where my leaders and my managers are to be able to use some of this? I would like to share with you a very interesting research. They said that, in the earlier times, an average learner spent X number of hours in a year on their self-development. Today, the same learner is impatient, overwhelmed, distracted, and is only spending 1% or 24 minutes per week on their self-development. And on an average, it's 1% of what it was earlier. So the attention span has become so small today for the learner that it becomes more challenging today for L&D leaders, for business leaders to be able to carve out these development journeys and choose these learning landscape options to be able to create that bite-sized, quick bullet learning, which would be penetrative and create and obviously satisfy those critical competencies which the business needs for it to be successful and drive revenue growth or high revenue growth.
Thank you very much, Anshul. I'd like to give you an opportunity to wrap up if you wish.
I think I'm good. I would probably look at some questions, which would be nice.
Later. All right. Thank you very much, Anshul. I think that was a very heartfelt presentation. I actually appreciated the 5 qualities that you shared that is important for a digital leader to embody today. And also how important it is to increase also the leadership quotient and agility of an organization as they undergo digital transformation. We're lucky that we have, thank you very much, Anshul. We're lucky we have Carmistha back. She had some connectivity problems earlier. And we'd like to give her an opportunity again to give us her spotlight presentation. And I think she's here. Oh, she spotlighted already, ops team. There you go. And Carmistha will be covering also a little bit on digital leadership and the culture of innovation, and also how is the digital transformation driving the customer experience. Welcome back, Carmistha.
Thank you. So sorry about that glitch. Glad to be back again. So as I was saying that, when I was doing this work on research on future of work, so one thing that came out is organizations who are going to be successful is a little bit in the shape of a barbell. So the barbell is really a deformed bell. So organizations are likely to be successful, that research told us, who are either large conglomerates who are very, very digital savvy to be able to move fast with speed. And the other set of organizations which are likely to be successful are the ones who are startups. And anything in between, that research really told us, are organizations who are really, really going to struggle to thrive and grow, or even, sort of survive. So that was a very, very interesting insight. And then, when one started delving into this space, hence one realized that it is very important for organizations in the middle also to survive and not really perish, along with the large conglomerates as well as the startups, is the organization really having three things available to it. That's my point number one, which is the digital mindset of the leaders, the capability across levels right from the top, and leaders' ability to leverage digital to be able to drive synergy in the organization. It could be business synergy, it could be market synergy, it could be synergies of any forms and formats. So that's the first thing, so that you continue to survive and thrive. Digital is a very dangerous thing, because if you don't handle it well, it can let organizations to sort of perish. The second element, hence taking a cue from there, the second important point is how as an organization then we build a digital ecosystem. Now, what does the word ecosystem mean? More often than not, as organizations, we focus on one part and we start really going digital on that. So sometimes it is on the business model part. Sometimes it is with the customer experience part. Sometimes it is with the employees, and sometimes it could be, some kind of synergies with partners. But I think it's very, very important for us to build in a digital ecosystem, and at one point in time, all four parts will have to take off. And hence, at the top level, it's very, very important to be driven by the CEO and define the strategy, the agenda, and really cascade it down to all these four parts of the organization: the internal organization, the customers, the employees, as well as the partners. So that's the second important point. I'll touch upon the customer experience bit, which is your question, a little bit more towards the end. The third important aspect is, it is really about transformation of the organization. I would rather not call it digital transformation. I would say digital is actually the linchpin or the core of organizational transformation in today's world. But you know what? Again, one of the very interesting discovery that we have had when it comes to org transformation, the role of digital, is that it is really less about technology. Yes, technology is important, but buying technology and investing in that is only a part of the game. The real game is really about how are you really onboarding people on the same, and how are we planning the future around the same. So if we really have to make digital strategies work, it's really about putting people first. It is really about human adaptability to be able to reskill and upskill and put our entire effort there. It is really about why digital transformation, because we want to drive innovation and productivity both, understanding that. And also, yes, we need cybersecurity analysts, we need data scientists, and we need software engineers. But very importantly, we need to hire people in the future organization, people on the soft skills, people who are adaptable, people who are flexible, people who are curious, people who are learning agile. Why? Because technology changes so fast. You skill someone up in a technology today, and tomorrow it's gone, but you are still there in the organization for many more years. It could be 10 years to 40 years, depending on your lifestyle life stage. So digital transformation, digital is really about enabling organizational transformation, but it is less about tech, but it is more about people. So that's, the third important point. Now coming to your point of customer experience, I think before the experience I think is a little bit understood that, how fast you move, how easy you make your navigations, how good your app is, how user-friendly it is. I think we're all doing that really well. But, another important part of customer experience, which is my fourth point, is how do you really, are you able to build in the differentiation of your products, of your services out in the open, and this whole digital has to play a very significant role. And the way I again see it is, it is not only about getting your business model right, and I think that's going to happen. Of course, that's not easy, but that's going to happen. But that's not enough. What is also important for us to essentially focus on is the brand today is really about two things I'm realizing, and I'll give an example here. So one is the persona of the brand is very, very important. And this brand is no more created by me alone. We all know what happened to WhatsApp when that whole message came out. The brand was suddenly under attack through the entire social media because everyone had a point of view and they got into the bandwagon. So I think digital, this marketing, this persona of a brand, digital is going to play a very, very important role. And that is a very key enabler if you have to continue to win the trust of the customers. Now, this brand persona now no more is about the brand itself. Is it also many a times about the leader? So our Tesla is so successful, and I have my personal take on Elon Musk saying I always feel he's a great salesperson. His cars possibly take 5 years to really hit the market from the time that he announces it's going to be. But I think he has created such an amazing persona, a digital persona, that itself is helping the brand to gain its trust and customer to have at least a waiting for the experience. And I saw that even in India, Anand Mahindra, so the company that I work for before I joined Axis, just by his own Twitter, presence, I think we generated billions of dollars of revenue just because he managed his Twitter account well. And he also built not only customer experience, but employee experience, because employee experience is customer experience is an outcome of employee experience. Because whenever, there was some some oil issue or some regulatory issues, the government policies coming in, employees actually would go on to Anand's Twitter or the Twitter of our then MD and would get their comfort and confidence in which direction is the company moving. So gone are those days when, the town halls will happen for some communication to happen because some external market changes happened. So the customer experience is hence, in my view, a lot about winning trust today. And other than the basics, and that will come, digital will play a very, very big role in the brand persona creation, as well as leaders who are really at the forefront of creating that customer trust, and which also has to then match with the experience with respect to the other things that we do. So that's my fourth point. My final point on this is, but if you do all of these digital, a lot of it is also about data and analytics and insights. Because innovation, what we may like to believe, again rests on two pillars. So one pillar is really about the organizational culture. That are we being able to fail fast? Are we being, and if we don't have the capacity to fail fast, we will succeed very slowly. So our data and our insights in pockets where we will apply this innovation to fail fast, the insights of the market, the consumer, people, products, services, all these, how do we bring into fore to really drive innovation? It's becoming an enabler for innovation, and data is becoming a very, very important aspect. And then, of course, as I talked about, the data analytics and insights should also help us not only drive innovation, fail fast and or fail or succeed fast and then scale up, and also bring in synergy, which is in the entire ecosystem. So these are, to summarize, my 5 key points. So digital is really about staking a claim in the barbell economy. Digital is really about an ecosystem, all 4 levers of organization, customers, people, and partners coming in through. Digital is really about not technology alone. It is a lot about people and their soft skills of being curious and other things. Digital is really about customer experience and bringing trust to the brand persona, and the leader's persona is going to be leading it. And it is also a lot about, if you have to drive innovation, about data analytics and insights. So it's really going to be, and it has always become all-encompassing in our lives. So that's my take on the role of digital leadership of organization in today's world. It's and things like business models and all, and technology, which were like so big even a couple of years back, is now just given that you will have the right digital technology, you will have the right digital business model, or your business model should be. So that's my view on 5 points on digital leadership.
Thank you very much, Carmistha. That was very, very insightful. What struck me the most was looking at digital leadership and transformation in terms of an ecosystem, that it's all interconnected between the strategy, the brand, the capabilities, the culture of innovation. It's really about putting people first. And now we're done with the panelist spotlight. So thank you very much to our 3 esteemed panelists. I am now going to head to the most exciting part of this forum, which is the question and answer portion, where we finally get a chance to interact with the audience that we have today. And this is where the real dialogue will start. So like I said, please do raise your hand if you have a question, and I will quickly scan through the gallery and call you out so that you can also unmute yourself. Question for Mario: what do you do to leaders, especially in the public sector, who refuse to go digital? Meaning, he cited some examples: not too open to transforming culture, capabilities, systems, and structures, and affecting the momentum of people down the line.
You drag them into the square and put a guillotine and cut their heads off. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so there's a practical answer, right, Raymond? The practical answer is that you have to wait it out, right? There's nothing really you can do. Eventually, the need will rear itself. It will require them, and there would be a come time, a realization where they realize a different kind of leadership is required at that point. In the beginning, in my past, I've seen this happen. In the beginning, they will try to adopt, right? They will try to scale up to get there, and then inherently they will discover whether they don't have the propensity for it or whatnot. In the end, Raymond, what's going to happen is the need will overtake the situation, and eventually you'll find yourself with a new leader who will be willing to go digital.
Thank you for that, Mario. I'd also like to give the opportunity to Carmistha and Anshul to answer that question if they wish.
I really don't think I have much to add on Mario's point on that. Maybe I rather take the next question which has come up. I think Mario answered it very beautifully.
Okay. Anshul, are you okay? Because we have a few more questions popping out. You're good. A few more questions popping out in the chat box from the Philippines again. How can a middle manager inspire a C-level to go digital? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the ladies would like to take that on.
I can take this one. I did see this coming up. So, it actually happened with my own personal experience, I would say about 6-7 years back. And I had two very young people, in the team, and we wanted to really go digital. And we said we have this big vision of digital world and creating that world, etc. And the best way they can actually excite a C-level leader is to help them realize that they know nothing about this world without really making them feel small about it. So really sit with them, educate them, have conversations with them, and I would say also handhold them. So I remember when we were running this campaign in our erstwhile organization, where we wanted to take the brand to every home in India, and digital media was one of our very, very important campaign through our brand ambassadors. And as that campaign started gaining momentum, many leaders started getting interested, but they said, I don't know how to do this well. And then these young people, they actually held our hand and do it. So I think they are the ones who can really challenge leaders, who can have conversations with leaders, who can educate them, who can train them, and also handhold them to be able to see the success of it, whether it is in the adopting digital business models or productivity of digital tools, or even building the persona digitally to build a better brand for your function or your organization. I think they can actually play the role of a mentor and a leader in this, and have that confidence to do that with organization leaders. And I've seen not one, many doing it, and that really helps. That's my view.
Thank you very much, Carmistha. Anshul, I'll give you also an opportunity to respond to that.
Thank you, Christine. I would really say some of these practices, for example, we do talk about diversity all the time and a diverse workforce. We talk about X gen and Y gen. And I think I myself, I have been absolutely with, it's all about the leadership mindset, which means that am I really an open and inclusive leader? And am I a courageous and bold leader to have my manager tell me that, you know what, this we can do on a digital platform. Why do you want to do it like this? So it's all about being inclusive, building that agility within yourself. So I think agility is an important point, because none of us have a heritage of digital transformation behind us. So we all have to, be able to drive this whole learning agility. And obviously, reverse mentoring is another one, which I think in my last organization is what we started. And it really helped to expedite or accelerate our digital transformation.
Thank you very much, Anshul. I have a few more questions here in the chat box. And for this one in particular, I'd like to give Mario the opportunity to respond first. It's addressed actually to anybody in the panel. In terms of governance and laws on cybersecurity, how secure do you think the current landscape is now compared to others in the region?
Hang on. The second part of the question. How secure do you think is the current landscape compared to others in the region? So I don't know too much about the other countries. The other countries that I'm very familiar with is Japan does a great job, Korea, South Korea does a great job, Singapore does an excellent job, Malaysia does a great job. Cybersecurity, it is faster to hack a system than to protect a system. I work in the field of AI. I can probably hack a system in under 3 hours, but of course that's criminal, right? So that's gonna keep you from doing it, right? So if you wanna be safe, don't have a mobile phone, don't have an internet connection, do not have any operating system, don't upgrade them, don't use a laptop, use a typewriter. I heard there was such a device somewhere. So that's. But if you're afraid of cybersecurity, you have two options. You have to unplug from the grid while the rest of the world passes you by, or you have to keep abreast with cybersecurity and data privacy. And so it's not easy. It's a big job. It's very tough. So Marge, it's scary. It's the number one reason that keeps CIOs, CTOs awake at night. But you have to deal with it. It's similar to if you don't want to get run over, then don't go outside your house, right? Because there's always a risk something might run you over, right? So I hope that answers that question.
All right, thank you very much, Mario. There's actually a lot more questions, and I'd like to move on to the next one. Question for anyone in the panel. Digitalization hinges a lot on infrastructure available. What is your advice for digital leaders who gets frustrated, and she's saying it's not her, with limitations on infrastructure as this is so out of our control? It seems to be a people question too, or an emotional intelligence question with regards to the many changes that we face as we go digital. Any one of the ladies would like to take this on? We would love to hear from you as well.
Yes. So I think we just have to be a little patient for all the reasons that we talked about. Because the digital, at times we may feel very, very frustrated when it comes to technology and infrastructure investment. But I think where we really, really need to be a little bit more, two things. I think one is when we take decisions. I think the decision making has to be very integrated when we make a tech choice. Many a times we decide to invest in a technology A in function A and a technology B in function B, and suddenly one day we wake up and we realize they need to talk to each other, and they're not talking to each other. And then there goes, the whole productivity, expectation that we had, or even be able to do much with it beyond a point. And then, of course, what we have started doing as an organization, we've really started having conversations with various tech partners. And even if some integration was not planned, we are being able to push them through. Now, it is, of course, very, very frustrating for people who are managing things on the ground, because they have to give us an output which has to come from both the technology, but the system is not connected enough to be able to do that. But also the partners, the technology partners, because of cyber risk and many other issues, they also can't come up with their solutions very fast. So they'll have their beta versions in their tests and all of that. But I think we need to again sensitize people, bring in that awareness. Just because tech can make us agile and fast does not mean that everything today is available at the platter and things are going to happen. So we need to create more awareness, more conversations, but also very importantly, as leaders, be proactive and push for the change where it does not even exist, and constantly look for integration and synergy. I've led and leading two such projects where I myself didn't believe it's possible, but just ask that very innocent and maybe stupid question as a leader. Can these two systems talk to each other? One is a global giant, another is a local partner. But eventually they did. So it took me 6-7 months. So I think we have to be patient. We have to be strategic. The young people, you also just can't be only looking at agility. You also have to be strategic in your mindset and bring up, push your leaders to drive the change, or hope that you have smart leaders who will be proactive and driving the change for you. So that would be my response. It is not an easy answer, but if decisions are made a little bit thought through, then leaders are looking at the integration as a very important source and pushing the agenda. I think this frustration will come down, but yeah, we constantly have to be also patient to get this going in large organizations.
So true, I agree. Growth mindset is really, really important. I'm trying to make sure that I choose questions that are diverse, but I hope to cover everything. I'd like to address this question to Anshul. What is the future of microlearning? Isn't the concept of microlearning, this is an interesting question from Mayur, counterintuitive as it leads to furthering the already shortened attention span? So how do we integrate macro and micro learning? I guess in the context of learning more about digital.
Sure. So thank you for that question, Mayur. I would really say micro and macro can coexist in the ecosystem of the LNE function. So today the learning landscape has many options. So the learner is really spoiled for choice. And it's important to say what my organization in terms of investment and also in terms of absorption, the learner's appetite for absorption and be able to cope with self-paced learning. What is the readiness of the learner, which was the customer in this case? You cannot over bombard products to a learner that he or she is lost with what to do. Because when there are too many options, then you can be. I would say if you see an employee life cycle, in the beginning, when you join a new job, your need for micro-learning is high. But as you start moving into a new seasoned employee, and then you move into being an expert, there is more scope for macro. And as you say, MOOCs and other forms of learning landscapes that you can actually embed in the journey. So am I saying that one has to go displace one with the other? No. You have to find in the customer, like for me, my customer is my employee, people first, right? So employees also during their different, during the tenure in the organization can actually have a blended and a different, use micro and macro together to build a smarter or a better learning experience for the employee. I think that's my view.
Thank you very much, Anshul. This was for Mario from Joanna. You mentioned about technical literacy. What references or resources can you recommend for those who really do not have the background, and where is the best place to start? Good question.
Oh, very good question. Start with your cell phone. It's you just go through the security settings, the configuration settings, go to your application stores, download a few applications, learn a new language, understand and then play a game or two, play Mobile Legends. I don't know if that's too advanced. Chess. What happens is then you start to get a feel of this thing that people talk about, which is fundamental, like user experience and usability and all these words about how, download an app called Slack, get a couple of your friends on it, start to collaborate off of Slack. So Joanne, a good place to start is your mobile phone. And then, of course, there's the standard answer around YouTube, Coursera, Udemy, and all those guys. But I think something that's relatively very ultra light for you to get started down technical literacy is play with the settings of your phone, download a few apps, actually check your security settings and make sure you're not giving your information away to a bunch of creeps. Huh?
Thank you very much, Mario. There's a question here for Carmistha from Agnes. Innovation is known to flourish in agile environments. What is the foremost key for innovation and digital transformation to work in the financial services industry, which is known to be bureaucratic?
Yeah, hi, hi Agnes. What is a straightforward answer to that? It is actually competition. Financial services, as you rightly said, and Mario also talked about cybersecurity and many other things. So I think one is competition, and the second thing that is also happening now in the post-COVID world is people. So for example, DBS is doing some amazing work in the digital banking space. And now let's say, in India, it is also, it also happened to get Sachin Tendulkar, one of our iconic cricketer, to be a cricket, as you know, is the most important sport in India, to really become its brand ambassador, and he's really, really making inroads, right? So we have no option but to really wake up to the whole reality of the digital banking. And we did set up, for example, overnight almost 500 people team of digital bankers being headed by someone from McKinsey. So competition, big one. Also the second, also the regulation, that sort of comes in. So right now, everything is opening up. There are payment banks, and then there are people, they're saying large corporates can now open banks up. Then there is, of course, new currencies, the cryptocurrencies, the Bitcoins, and so all that. So that's another, the change in the external environment, be it regulatory, be it new technology in the financial currency space, is another very, very important reason for us to, understand this whole space. The third, as I said, is people. So for example, with this whole COVID era, so financial industry are also, we are large employers, right? So we have 80,000 people already. We are going to go 1 lakh plus. Soon 100,000 plus in the next 6 months. So now when you are such a large employer, retail space has been a very, very important one of consideration for us. Now, and we've always been wanting to reduce that cost while, branch banking in India is still a big one. So digital on one hand, branch penetration on the other. So we seized this opportunity, and we are really looking at the hybrid model, the gig worker model, and all of that in a big way, so that we don't have to invest in retail spaces over the next 5 years, and also offer an amazing working experience, which in a bureaucratic world, pre-COVID world, was slightly harder. But now we are seizing the opportunity to give amazing people experiences to people, as well as cutting down costs for organizations. So I would say these 4 factors: competition, changing in the external market, cost cutting, as well as employee experience. The last 2 have emerged very recently, are 4 reasons where digital can enable us in a big way.
Thank you very much, Carmistha. I actually have a few more questions here, and I just made a quick time check. We are already around 15 minutes beyond our agreed time. And I just wanted to take on 2 more questions, and we would actually understand for our colleagues who need to go because of other previous engagements that you can actually go ahead. And thank you for joining us. But I just wanted to cover a few more questions. I hope you don't mind. Actually, I have a few more, but let me just choose something that all 3 of them can answer. Hold on. This is for Anshul. How can we empower women to be digitally equipped, to have a voice, to inspire co-workers to go digital, especially those who are stuck on being traditional?
My presentation, that diversity is one of the focus areas for a digital, in the digital era, if an organization is looking at transformation. And for us, in our organization, women is the first diverse group that we are looking at. And quite glad to say that we're building a women leadership development program, which has some of these critical competencies, which we do not have as heritage. But when we see those traits in people, we are picking up some of these, our high-pot women are outstanding, or, a certain set of leaders that we want to build our future leadership in, and obviously investing in them. Digital, this whole digital capability as being one of the competencies. And how we're designing it is obviously post whatever we go through in terms of e-learning modules, VILT, or in-person training, the person has to have some on-the-job action projects that they would lead for the next 6 months, 3 months, and talking to the stakeholder. That means talking to the business leaders and obviously designing these action projects very seriously, where we can have measurable outcomes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Anshul. The next question could actually be directed to any of you, the 3 of you. Should organizations identify or articulate digital agility as a standalone leadership competency required of employees nowadays to stress its importance?
Sorry, Christine, can you tell me which is the question again?
Should organizations identify or articulate digital agility as a standalone leadership competencies to stress its importance?
Standalone. Don't like that word, standalone, right? But it's important. It's a pillar. But I don't like that word standalone. Look, technology won't work without agility. Agility won't work without technology and all of the other competencies that goes together. If it were so simple, we won't be in this talk today, right? But for sure, agility is important. And if you belong to a government, especially if you belong to the Philippine government, you are probably going to be slower than DBS used to be. But yet, DBS was able to find a way to transform and become an example of what technology and digitization and managing change can mean to your organization, right? If you're a bank or any business for that matter. But yes, agility is very important. You just have to make sure that you have the rest of the other competencies. I mean, it was mentioned by the ladies, right? The ability to, and it's in this thread of questions around ability to manage through change. Change is hard, right? I don't like change, but well, we have to figure out a way how we build change management for our leadership and for our line. And that's part of agility.
Thank you very much, Mario. I'd like to give Carmistha and Anshul also an opportunity to answer this question.
So coming back to the question, I completely agree with Mario's views that it of course has to have its own place, but it of course in tandem with so we, for example, are defining our leadership framework. So where we are talking about value-based leadership, everyday leadership, digital and data leadership, along with, the competency of shaping the future, as well as, leading to sustainable behaviors. So for me, yet it has to stand out, but a part of the whole. So we are definitely calling it out as 1 out of 5. Yeah.
Thank you, Carmistha. Anshul, your turn. As we, this is the last question.
So I think I also agree that digital is only one of the various competencies. It doesn't work if I'm not inclusive. It cannot work if you don't have innovation. What are you going to do with standalone digital capabilities? So there are many competencies and skills and traits which actually they have to work together for digital transformation to happen. So just technical expertise or functional expertise alone cannot work. So just defining digital capability, what does digital capability define as for an organization would be very critical, which would be directly, there would be a directly linkage to what's their mission, vision, purpose, and business strategy, and also their operating model. So.
All right, thank you very much. I know that we have gone over time, and I wanted to communicate our deepest appreciation for our 3 panelists. First of all, Carmistha, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anshul, and thank you very much, Mario, for gracing our forum and sharing your insights and your experiences. And I'm sure from our participants and delegates from all of the countries appreciated the exchange of information, dialogue, and the learnings today. And of course, before we go, we'd actually love to hear your feedback. So we're going to flash a QR code. And should you have any inquiries to find out more or to talk to any of our panelists to get more information, please go ahead and email us at solution@quintegral.com. And this, of course, thank you very much for attending, everyone. I hope you found this forum very insightful. And here is the QR code. And you can use your phone to scan it. It will lead to the evaluation form. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the next forum. Thank you.